Morning, people. I have something very important to talk about um, in regards to cheese making, and it happens to be the heat. It's hotter than a witch's Katarina out there. Um, no, that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about is something very important when it comes to making cheese, and that's making sure you had your first cup of coffee before you start talking. Okay, for real, back to cheese. What I wanted to talk about was something I wrote about the other day, and that was, natural rinding cheeses, oil rub cheeses, um, you know, how to treat each rind, how to take care of them, whether it be bandage, whether it be wax, whatever it may be. I don't have any wax cheeses. I'll talk about it a little bit, but I don't have any available. But what I do want to talk about is the differences in natural rind cheeses, particularly, and bandage cheeses. So I'm going to show you two things. One of them is my beautiful beet and sweet basil cheese. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And then the other one is this here beautiful ramp cheese that I made. Look at that. I made that just, what? I don't even know, 2-3 weeks ago. So just a little side by side here. Can you see that? 3 runs of bound cloth on that. Nothing on this. Nothing. So, reasons for that. So, when you have a cheese like this, natural rind cheese, right? Typically what you're going to do is you're going to brine it. Okay? And brining, as I said earlier, I'm looking for it. Hey, I'm back. You thought you lost me. Good luck. My brine is in here. So this is what you use when one of the things you use when you natural rind a cheese. In this, I've talked about it before, there is 1 gallon of purified water, a tablespoon of vinegar, a tablespoon of calcium chloride, and 2.5 pounds of salt. Okay, that gives you like a 30% salt volume for brine for cheese. And that's kind of a target for brine saturation. So what that does is, you make your cheese, right? Comes out the press. Those bacteria are going nuts. Like they're still in there, working like crazy, consuming lactose, and they're having a good old time, making your cheese the way you want it to. The issue is that if you don't control that, you're gonna have issues like too much whey dissipation, too much moisture, and it's going to change the profile of your cheese. So what you're trying to do is stop that, and by stopping that is by brining it or dry salting it. And for a brining perspective, what you'll do is you'll put this cheese in there, and it's based on a formula. The formula is you want to brine your cheese as 1 pound, 1 hour per pound, okay, times 1 inch of thickness. So however much this weighs times however many inches thick this is, you're gonna brine it. So this one went like about 8 hours, probably 7.5, I think, based on the weight and the height. Brining your cheese isn't just you can't just throw it in there for 8 hours, because if you have cheese it's 1 inch thick and you put it in there for 8 hours, you're gonna end up with a hockey puck. I don't know if you guys know how strong this solution is, but I can tell you one thing. If you put your fingers in it to grab the cheese and you take them out, your skin says, wash me, dude, like get this crap off me, because it immediately just crusts to your skin. I guarantee that's not good for your skin. So what that does is, when it brines, it draws that moisture out of the surface, mostly, right? And it actually creates like a salt barrier around the cheese. So when when the bacteria internally is working, it's trying to pass that way, it has to hit that salt. And it controls the bacterial growth within the cheese, limiting the amount of moisture that the cheese can expel. Also by protecting the rind itself and preventing unwanted molds from growing on your cheese. And that's pretty much the short of it, okay? With this one, I mean, look at this thing. Man, I'll turn it over so you can see how moldy it is. But you see what's on there? I bet you can't see. All that is just, there's some Richmond Candium on there. And mostly, well, let's see, that's the white right here, if you can see it. And you got this blue here, that's the Penicillium roqueforti. It's growing on there. And we got a little bit of the orange popping up in here, which is good too. That's Sporandema casei. And these are good molds. This is what you want. What you don't want is, well, actually you can tolerate it too. Some black molds, a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, it's so wrong. It's actually not terribly wrong. You can have black molds on your cheese. You can have brown molds on your cheese. The thing about black and brown molds is they're bad for you because they contain biotoxins. But what you don't want them is to get them inside of the cheese. So if your cheese has fissures, you get inside the cheese and they start to populate internally, that can be bad for you because you will eat it and you will become sick. You will get the Hershey squirts like no tomorrow. You will be paying homage to the porcelain gods for the whole rest of your weekend. You don't want to do it. It's not going to be a fun time for you. And your friend's downstairs, you know what I'm talking about, he's not going to be happy with you either. So when you have that growing on top, it's really not that big of a deal. As long as you don't have the fissures, as long as you have no way for that to get into the cheese, that is easily remedied via wash of vinegar and like a brine solution, a little vinegar, a little bit of salt water, and just allowing that to destroy that mold and then wiping it off, basically, is all there is to it. So again, this is like 2-3 weeks. This is like 2-3 weeks, okay? The other part of the molding piece is with the Penicillium candium or the roqueforti, or you got the Geotrichum candium, you got Penicillium candium, all good molds, or the Sporandema casei. Those help also, while they're sitting on this cheese here, they're consuming the whey that's being expelled from the cheese, and they're creating this nice earthy profile in the rind itself, right on the outside of the rind. A lot of you don't like that because it kind of tastes like dirt. I kind of enjoy the earthy profile with usually the tang or sweetness of the cheese underneath, and I'll eat it straight up with it. I mean, that's just me. I'm no Superman, but guess what, people? I'm no dummy either. If I cut this thing open and there's mold inside of it, it's going in the garbage. I'm not going to eat it. The other part I wanted to talk about, which I haven't done, and I don't have one available to show you, but I will talk about, and that is, you know, you can take the same kind of cheese. Manchego is one that I do it with quite frequently, and I'll dry salt. So dry salting is a little bit different. Dry salting kind of follows the same, the same reasoning is behind dry salting, except rather than applying a liquid salt, you're actually applying like a kosher or a high-grade thick salt. Coarser kosher salt is what I use. And it's basically the same methodology. You're gonna put this on this cheese all over, and you just rub it in there. Now, I say all over, I don't mean like all over. There is a certain amount of salt that you use. just like with internal salting, there is external salting. So with a brine cheese, okay, you typically do not dry salt it, because the salt goes on top. With some cheeses, when you dry salt them, if they're going to be an external rind, you could have internal salting. You could have internal and external salting, or you may just have external salting. It just depends on the cheese and the flavor profile of the cheese and the amount of moisture you're trying to draw from it. With the Manchego, like, it's not salted internally, but you'll use probably, I think it's about 9 tablespoons. I can't remember exactly. Don't shoot me. But you'll take that same cheese like this one. You'll pull it out, the first day after it dries for 2 days, and you'll apply like 3 tablespoons of salt all over the surface, the sides, rub it in, and you'll keep it on a mat. You should always keep it on a drain mat of some sort. You don't want that moisture to just leak onto whatever you've got it sitting on, and resting in that moisture. That's not good for your cheese. And then you want to make sure you go downstairs and you remove that moisture. You clean that cheese up I think you do it every other day. This whole process takes probably about 6 to 7 days in order to get it to the place where you can properly age it. What that dry salting will do is it actually forces the extraction of the whey. It's like a turbocharger for extraction of that whey, and it sucks it out of that rind. And in sucking it out of that rind, it's pulling that moisture. It's physically drawing it out. It's evaporating into the air, where the salt is drying it out, and then it's leaving a wet salt crust on top of the cheese. Once that's done for like a week, same thing with this. You just revisit it. When you see those, the geotrichum, the candiums populating the top or whatever it is, it's usually with one of these. If you're doing everything white, guys, right, you're just gonna have like geotrichum candium growing on top. Nothing but white mold. That's all you should really see is white mold. If everything is going well, and you look at these cheeses like I've been showing you, I can go down there and get you another one right now and show you. You should just have white molds. If you're getting a bunch of blue molds on top, I mean, that could be because of your environment. I do get blue molds on these because I'm using wine coolers and they have fans, and it just takes one spore, people. That's all it is. And they're in there. I mean, because there's no rhyme or reason to where I put my cheeses. I try to keep the ones that I'm bandaging in one cooler. I try to keep the ones that I'm natural rinding in one cooler. That doesn't always work out. So sometimes I got to fight the blues, which is not that big of a deal. So the other part of the natural rind piece is, and I said before in another video, where is it? Where did it go? Oh, there it is. It's too early. Oil, right? So when you start getting that geotrichum on there, you just need to take a little towel, oil it up, which is what I just finished doing with this bad boy. And it's going downstairs in a few minutes after I get done talking to you, and driving it in there. The third one I have to talk about, which I don't have right now, is wax. And waxes are tricky, okay? For all you people that want to wax, that's fine. You know what? I'm gonna talk about vac bagging too. And a lot of people are gonna hate me, but oh well. So with waxing, that's a touchy one, okay? Waxing requires you to make sure that you have your cheese in the right state, okay? If you have a cheese that's still draining, it's still too moist, you might not even see it, okay? You might not even be able to tell it's draining that fast. And you wax it. One of the first things that happens is you get moisture development underneath the wax. And wax is porous. Its job is meant to dissipate the moisture through the porous wax and draw oxygen through the cheese and pass those two between the layer of wax. But the problem is sometimes you get too much moisture under there. And if you get too much moisture in your cheese, two things can happen. You're gonna find it and you're gonna do the right thing, which is cut that off immediately. spend another couple days, however long it takes you to dry that cheese out and re-waxing it. Or you're gonna look at the cheese and you're gonna say, there's liquid in there, I'll just leave it. And then, well, you're gonna screw yourself, because in 2 months, you're gonna wake up to a black cheese. It's filled with bad mold. It's been sitting in leached out whey that's covered in nasty stuff that you don't wanna eat. You're not gonna wanna eat it. Not gonna eat it. So I go back to cheese making 101 and say, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime, okay? Because you're gonna pay for it. You need to be acutely aware of that. The other part about wax is it's very expensive now. Years ago when I bought it, it was probably like $6 for food grade pound. Now it's upwards of $16 to $20 for a pound of food grade wax. So I've pretty much gotten away from it. Even my wax cheeses that say they should wax, I don't wax them anymore. So there's that. And you can reuse the wax. Again, pain in the rear, because you've got to take the wax, you got to put it in a pot. You know, you got to melt it. It's got to be cleaned before you do all that. It's just a real pain in the butt. But again, the bandaging is going to cost you, like Amazon. I didn't get it for I get it for like $1 something for I don't know how many cubic yards of that packet is. And I can wrap, I don't know, half dozen cheeses with one of those things. So it's definitely worth the price to just go ahead and bandage. The other cost involved is your lard or your oil or whatever, but you know, I haven't had to buy any of that recently. So, you know, I got a good network of people around here. For those of you that watch my videos, that live by me, that can benefit from my existence in this area. I want to shoot a big shout out to all you guys and thank you for everything you do for me to help me help you guys. And the other thing, one thing, sorry, I did not talk about, I completely missed it, is with the brining, right? The other good thing about the brine, okay, so you got the bandaging because it's really cheap, easy to apply. The brining also is fairly cheap, okay? You're just out a gallon of water. You don't have to buy water, I do. You can just boil it and let it cool. A little salt, sodium chloride in the vinegar. But the great thing about that is you can keep that for months, okay? If you're making plain cheese, it's probably months. You just have to replace the salt and boil it. I do that probably once every week. I boil the brine out and then I add some more salt to it and I put it back in a bottle and I do that. The only issue I have is I don't have another one right now. I keep 2 of them. I actually make a separate one because when you do stuff like this, unfortunately, it will fill with bits of herbs and spices, and you know, it just gets nasty, and I just don't want to deal with it. So there's that. And then the final reason it's important to do all of these things and follow these steps is because you want to make a good quality cheese. Like this thing here. I'll talk about this. My buddy gave this to me. It's from, I think he got it from like Whole Foods. And I think it's called something Willow, I don't know, something Willow farm cheese. This piece was just under 1/8 of a pound, okay? Do you know how much this costs? He left the price tag on it, I'm just gonna tell you. This is 1/8 of a pound of, basically it's just a standard goat tom cheese. That's all it is. There's nothing special about it. I mean, I get goat milk, I make these all day long. Take a wild guess. Now I'm gonna tell you, $15.99 for 1/8 of a pound. 1/8 of a pound. These cheeses, this one, if you've got your milk sources like I do on occasion, it costs you about $1 to make. so you can see where the cost benefit is. Even if you were to purchase milk at 2 something a gallon, you're out like 12, 14 bucks. Okay. But these cheeses, like, like the Noklis, I'll give you for example, that's the Norwegian cheese. It can be $250 to $500 a pound during the holiday season, Christmas season. Sorry, people. I do Christmas. I know you guys do different holidays, but I do Christmas, and I love it. So, that's pretty much it. Well, actually, you know what? Since we're doing this video, let's talk about this. We gotta lift some weights here in the morning. Yeah, gonna pump you up. Nah, is this bad boy? You know what's in here? That's my Red Reaper, people. You know what's doing in there? See that? Do you see real closely? It's not ready yet, but do you see it? See that white stuff? That's cloth. It's bandage cloth. Okay. A lot of people bandage their cheeses, and then they just put them in their cave. That's a bad idea. That's a bad idea because what you're doing with the cloth is you're trying to create a protective barrier underneath, or sorry, on top of your rind that is not protected. Remember, when you put that cheese that I made, the only thing it has is salt internally. This cheese is only internally salted. So it has no protective surface whatsoever. It has not been brined, it has not been dry salted. It is just free to the world. So you need to, for back of letter term, impregnate that cloth into that cheese to remove any air pockets that are in there, to keep the possibility of growth of mold, good mold, I don't even say good mold, any mold, from developing in numbers underneath of your bandage cloth, because that's not good. If you have a layer of oil and you have a layer or butter or lard or whatever you use, and you just hand wrap this cloth on here and you stick it in your fridge and it's bubbled and you've got, areas of pockets in the cloth, that's just, the moisture is going to be coming straight out of that cheese. And the first thing it's going to do is pull in that area where nothing can protect it and keep it from pocketing. And those molds will just sit there and they'll grow. And then they'll be kind of trapped in the oil. And that is that area of moisture, that pocket where that bad stuff can grow. And that's what you don't want. It's the black and the browns, man. They love being in those deep, dark, really wet places. And you need to avoid that. That's what you need to avoid. Last thing I kind of want to talk about, and a lot of people do this, and to each your own. Like, I'm not going to naysay anybody, because to each my own. This is the way I do things. This is the way other people do things. Is the vac sealing, right? I don't get it. It's good for storage, guys, but when you're vac sealing a cheese, okay, unless you go out and you buy food grade permeable, okay, specifically made for the expulsion of air or expulsion of moisture and return flow of air, to be able to precipitate that between that layer that you have going on around there, you're really killing the cheese. You really are. Cheese needs oxygen. It has bacteria in it. It needs to continue its process. And it needs to continue its process uninhibited. Okay, so when you take a cheese and you load it with bacteria and you don't have the external ability for it to be removed, and then you go ahead and say salt it internally, whatever, and you throw it in this bag, you basically then draw this bag around the cheese and you prevent the expulsion of any moisture whatsoever. Okay, so while for a cheddar maybe you can probably get away with it because it's inherently a very dry cheese after the cheddaring process, after it's been pressed for however long you're pressing it based on the type of cheese. If you took like a Cotswold or something that has a higher moisture, semi-soft cheese, and you try and age it in that, it's just not going to end well. You're going to end up with way too much moisture in there. It's not going to taste the way it's supposed to, and it can also be dangerous. So, you know, take that how you want. I say that, you know, it is of the utmost importance, so that if you plan on aging something other than a cheese that's very, very dry, you should never backpack it. Never. It shouldn't happen. And then, before I continue, sorry, the other most important part of cheese. I'll give you another example of aging. See that? That's blue cheese. Now, I know you guys have seen me make blue cheese. I know you've seen me store blue cheese. And I put it in a backpack. I sure do. Only temporarily though. If I plan on eating it, it's temporary, okay? Because blue cheese is a living mold, right? Just like the bacteria. But the problem with it is the mold needs to keep thriving in the cheese, okay? It needs to have access to oxygen. It absolutely, unless you're gonna eat it in a short term, like within, I'd say, 2-3 weeks at the most, you gotta store it in something where it can breathe. If you don't, the blue molds will die. When they die, you'll get that gray, black stuff in the middle of it, right? And then the cheese will just start to go bad, basically. It'll stink. It'll start smelling like ammonia, and you can't eat it. You won't want to eat it. So if you make blue cheese, people, if you need to store it longer term and you're not going to eat it in the short term, foil. This is just parchment paper, and this is Gorilla Tape. Look at that. That's some fancy stuff right there, isn't it? And that will keep your blues thriving for sometimes upwards of months. I mean, these have been in here since, I don't know, a month before my May tasting, and I'm still eating them. So. Another fun fact, people. Somebody taught me this online, so I'm going to share it with you. This stuff here, it's great for making blue cheese. That's right. You don't have to spend $25 or $30 for a little packet of Roca 40. And you can go to the store, right? Let's get some of this. Right? Just break a little piece of it off. And eat it. Now, throw it in your milk. That's where you'll get your cultured milk. That's the secret of the day. Another person from Artisan Cheese Making shared that with me. Right? So that's it. That's what you get. There's your difference right there. Natural expulsion of moisture through the cheese, through bandage wrap and lard. Natural, right? No barrier, just natural. Salted barrier. I have nothing else to say except I'm gonna go eat my hoity-toity cheese. And this is gonna give you another reason to make your own damn cheese, because the man is screwing you guys when you go to Whole Foods or anywhere you go. You need to bend over every time you walk into one of these places. I talk to people all the time, and they're like, oh, it's a $300 trip every time I walk out of here. No, for me, it's a, sorry, I'm not gonna use that language, a trip out of there, because I know better. All right, people, you guys have a great Friday. I have to go to work. See ya.